Welcome to another edition of Walnut Grove Cultural Conversations, where two local pastors sit in front of this bookshelf and talk about things going on in our culture. And actually, this is on a different day than normal upload. Welcome to a happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Okay.
Not wearing green.
I guess he
Not
is.
wearing green.
Yeah, thanks.
That's what St. Patrick's Day is all about, right?
Yeah.
When you're in school?
It's either that or when you get older, green beer or green rivers, right?
Yep. Wear the beads and the hats, and thank you, Chicago, for turning the water green.
Yes. But what's wild is the origin story of St. Patrick's Day looks quite different. And I think many of us kind of know that there's a guy named St. Patrick, but we don't know a whole lot about his life. But he's actually one of the more fascinating characters of Christian history. Yeah. And so we wanted to kind of talk about the origin and the background of St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. Maybe the first thing you don't know, or maybe you heard and forgot, is that St. Patrick not only is an unofficial saint,
no,
but he also is an Irish.
No, he is British.
English.
He's from England, which is wild to think about.
It is.
Yeah.
And so this English Patrick actually is abducted by pirates from Ireland, taken back to Ireland, and for, I think, 6 years?
6 years, yep.
Becomes a shepherd.
Yeah. And during that time, his faith in God grows. Early on in his life, he must have had some kind of interaction with God, with faith. And it just grew, and it seems like he had scripture memorized because he would repeat those things over and over again to himself in his head. And something that was very rare, actually possibly never happened before, was for a slave in Ireland to escape, because it's its own island, right? And it's its own country, its own nation.
That's good geography right there.
Yeah, and so for them to just, it's not like you can just
take a land bridge.
Yeah, so he somehow gets on this ship and makes his way back to Britain, back to his home.
Yeah, kind of a mysterious time in his life, but he gets back. He decides that God has been a big enough part of his life that he's going to study, and he's going to go to seminary and grow and learn. And then he has this call, this sense over and over again that he has to go back.
Yeah.
Which, you think about that, if you escape from slavery, you lose 6 years of your life per se, and then you're back to his parents' wealth and to a comfortable life. And then God says, no, I want you to go back. And so he does.
Yeah, that's the wild thing, is he is obedient in that call, is that he decides to go. And so he heads back to Ireland, into the place where he was abducted among his captors, and where he had spent really his formative years, his teenage years, getting to know Ireland and Irish culture and Irish people.
Yeah, from the vantage point of an Irish person. He's kind of what church planners call this idea of contextualization, trying to bring the gospel into the context, into the understanding of the people. Mm-hmm. Because St. Patrick is not the first person to try to bring the gospel to Ireland, but he seems like the very first person who tries to bring it from an Irish person. Right now, he's now this adopted Irish person.
Yeah.
And he takes on the mission of sharing the good news across the islands.
Yeah, and he actually gets... I'm trying to remember the story, but he ends up having impact with the King of Ireland, right? He gets to go in front of the King of Ireland, and he converts the King of Ireland, which sends a shockwave of faith through the entire island, actually through the entire region. Yeah. And so you hear this amazing thing that so when you think of green beer and you think of, Kiss Me, I'm Irish, this is quite a different story than that.
Right, and in fact, we get this message from the story of God using hard things, terrible things, for his glory. Mm. I mean, St. Patrick, one of the things he's known for now is being one of the first to speak out against slavery. Go figure, a former slave who rightly points out that slavery is an affront to God and to people made in his image. And yet God is willing to use our hard stuff, our bad stuff, all the time.
Yeah.
to benefit the kingdom and ultimately to grow us to places in ways that we never expected possible.
Yeah,
Never anticipated.
I always say it in a very cheesy, like dad joke kind of way, but I kind of mean it, where he takes our history and makes it his story. And so he comes in to even what may seem like remedial things of our past, but if you're willing to allow him, God will use and redeem those things so that you can use those past experiences to bring light to someone who might be in the middle of that experience, or to be able to speak into something that others can't. Right? The experiences that I have differ from the experiences that Stephen has, or the experiences that you have. Yeah. And that's what weaves this amazing thing of God coming in and reconciling and redeeming those things so that when you're put into a new station, you then can speak into those things.
Yeah, Scripture talks about it like we have been comforted so that we can be a comfort to others. And so you stop and think about, maybe do a little bit of evaluation of your life. Like, what are the really rough things you've gone through? Maybe you've lost a child. Maybe you've experienced sexual abuse. Maybe you've tried to adopt and it failed. You tried to have kids and you couldn't. And then ask yourself, as you turn that over to God, can God use that as a way for you to begin to minister to someone maybe in the exact same circumstances that you were in?
Yeah. So that is really kind of the big takeaway from St. Patrick. I encourage you to look into his actual life because it's fascinating. The little short things that we've said about him here are not exhaustive by any means, but one of our favorite things, both Stephen and I, about St. Patrick is this prayer that he has. It's called St. Patrick's Breastplate. It's actually quite a long prayer, but Stephen wanted to read a couple of excerpts from it so that we kind of get an idea of what St. Patrick was like and what he was about.
Yeah, let me just end with just the last part, one of the last parts of his prayer. He wrote, Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ in me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ on my right, Christ on my left, Christ when I lie down, Christ when I sit down, Christ in the heart of every man who thinks of me, Christ in the mouth of every man who speaks of me, Christ in the eye that sees me, Christ in the ear that hears me. I rise today through a mighty strength, the invocation of the Trinity. And he goes on, but he says, man, Christ everywhere.
Yeah. And so, with that said, may you go and live a life that is in such a way that he talks about, where Christ is in the eyes of the people who see us, that are in the ears of the people who hear us, and on the minds of those who think of us. Yeah. With that said, cheers, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.